Hello and good afternoon, lovely friends. How are you doing this amazing Sunday? I am doing really well. It is day 8 of the 100-day project, and I just got done and out of a really long, about a 2.5 hour memoir. Hi, yay, I'm so glad you did. I just got done from a long 2 hour writing session, but also going through like my old pieces of like work and old books that were never published that I started, or books that I started writing like in 2014. Um, all of them memoirs that I've stopped and started. There's been about, I think, 5 different memoirs that I've stopped and I started. And I spent the last 2 hours just kind of writing, letting what wanted to come forth. And then at the end, not necessarily shaping, but feeling into what could possibly work for this memoir that I'm currently writing. And it was really eye-opening, but I also now have like mushy mind. Like I'm still in the haze of writing, and I can feel the energy of the words and what wants to be written like as an undercurrent. And so when I was getting ready to pull a card for March, and I thought, how much fun would it be to do it live with y'all as part of this 100-day project? And a little bit how I use tarot as part of my writing and creative praxis. I love pulling. I do it a couple of different ways. This year's been a little bit different because the energy has felt like it wanted it to be much more in the moment. And traditionally, I'll pull a tarot card for the like one card per month for the entire year at the beginning of the year. So, like January 1st. And I normally do that live on my YouTube channel, and we do it in community. And I just pull the cards so we know what the entire year, the energy kind of map of 2025 is. But this year felt a lot different. Like it felt like the map wasn't necessarily going to be the best guide because so much is changing and happening so fast. We see that on all levels of life right now, especially if you're in the States. And so the practice really wanted to be in the moment, current. And so beginning in January, I have been pulling cards at the beginning of the month as a guide for the Woke Magic Galaxy, the Wild Dream Collective, like all my spaces, but also for me. And what I have found when I pull a guiding card for the month is that it really helps me align my energy and often see things that I might be missing, right? Because I'm still in winter mode, but March is that month where we're shifting from winter going into spring. You can see it outside, like outside my window, there are little wrens, there's black crested titmouses, there's cardinals, like there's all of these birds just singing, and you can feel like the movement and the energy moving towards spring. And March is that like liminal space between like coming off and out of the wintry hibernation and cave and into the seeding in the sun of spring. And March, I forgot totally that yesterday was March 1st, and I normally do it on the 1st, but I'm kind of glad I waited because there were other things that wanted to come through and come forth for yesterday's 100-day project. But today felt like I was sitting in the energy. I pulled a archetype card as well. That was I did it at the beginning of the year, but I really wanted to do this live. And so I was sharing how I use my tarot guides I use it to see what I'm like the where I might be missing something. I use it as an anchor into what I need to dive into energetically. I use it sometimes even as prompts to deepen into whatever creative project I'm doing. I use it as like guiding words. I'll read the guidebook because each deck is so different depending upon like the artist interpretation, and I'll sometimes like pick out one or two words that feel really resonant for me and try to weave them into a creative project, or I'll carry them with me throughout like a week or a day just to see how they land, or if it shifts my energy or the creative project in any way. And because March is that liminal space and that in between space, I was going to ask for a guide for all of us through that. Like, what and how can we use this beautiful liminal month of March, the space that's like ending one season and getting ready to begin a new season? How can we best work with that in our creative lives and for our individual creative projects? And that's kind of what I'm tapping into. And so we're just going to ask for a card for March for the Woke Magic, the Wild Dream Collective, to serve as a guide and an anchor for this beautiful medicine of endings and beginnings, and a pin and anchor to help us tap into what wants to be written, what wants to be created, what's ready to be seeded and planted and moving forward. So we have the Four of Swords. So I'm just going to let that sit for a minute. And I want to read you what Serpentine Fire has to say. This deck is from the She Wolf Tarot, and I think it's out of print. I don't know if it's out of print, or I believe she switched. It was self-published, but I think she switched to somebody else publishing it. She's gone through a whole really beautiful transformation. So she's one of my favorite artists. All right, so here's what she has to say about the Four of Swords. And I'm going to hold this up so you can kind of see it as I read it. So this card is Jupiter in Libra. The keys are reflection, understanding, exhaustion, agreement, timeout. The illustration. A woman sits atop a desert rock formation with her head in her hands. Behind her, a crescent Jupiter almost houses her, giving her a ceiling for her thoughts. She has been on a journey and is facing up to her own weariness. So, this is the light interpretation because we received this card upright. We cannot expect ourselves to be processing machines. Life never stops, it's true, but that doesn't mean that we don't have to. Sleep is one way, but active rest and self-care are necessary too. If we don't engage in this, our minds, again, air elements, can become scattered and anxious. When we receive this card, we are being asked to reflect upon the last little while and gain some perspective. Journaling, therapy, art, there are tons of ways to productively channel and pack up our experiences into arrangements that make sense to us. Yeah, I do. I feel this as well. I feel the mental picture. I also really feel the words. I felt myself this last couple of days feeling like I need to be further along than what I am. I also felt myself, I'm getting ready to open up the doors to the Wild Dream Journal Club. And I don't really do like a heavy like business kind of launch, but I did want to like share a little bit about it, and I found myself getting really really like machinery about it, like getting really kind of like this, and this, and this, and this, which, I'm very Capricorn. It happens. And I love that my mind works that way. But last week, when I tried to actually put it into praxis, right? So it wasn't just like, I'm trying to see if I could find the schedule to show you how ridiculous it was. Um, oh, here it is. But when I actually started to like put it into praxis, I was like, girl, Brandy, you are doing way too much. Like, this is too much, not just for your body, but also for your people, because like, I don't ever want to be a place where it's just like, I don't ever want to like be about overconsumption, right? There's so much information out there. You can get information anywhere. And that's not really what I'm about. Like, I really want every like touch point that we, us come in contact with. I really want it to be about this kind of community, communication, relationship, reciprocity, and communion and partnership. And so I was like, I have to pull back, and I have to remember what is important to me. What is important to me has always been quality time, intimate connections, real connections versus something that is just like, very very strategic and very thought out, and a beautiful piece of art in and of itself. But I am not that person anymore. So this was literally my schedule. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, this is so Capricornian. It's upside down, I know. But like, each little thing was like something that I was going to do. And I was like, I'm going to take this little piece of paper and I'm going to mark through half of it. And I'm going to mark through even more than half of it. And I'm going to do like one thing that feels really good to share with people about this beautiful container that I created. And that felt so freeing and so good. And it's really um a beautiful mirror that this card came up for me personally, because that was something I was experiencing a little bit of burnt out, or that I was putting too much pressure on myself to like perform in the ways that most quote unquote business owners perform. And that's also a beautiful mirror, I hope, for y'all who are watching here and on the replay. We got to do things our own way. And that's also something that I've been holding in my heart, is this path that I'm walking as a author, as a wild dreamer, as a writer, as a witch, is my own. And nobody else's schedule, or the ways in which maybe they got there, maybe they think is the best way. That has never been how I've achieved all the wild dreams that I've wanted to achieve. It's always been through listening to my intuition, listening to what my body is saying, listening and communing with spirit, with what the cards are saying. And the invitation here, I feel, for all of us is to deepen into that communication and relationship with ourselves, so we know when we're doing too much, and that we're also okay with calling ourselves out on it and being okay with doing things our way. Like, when we do things our way, that's when success happens. And that has been a very hard lesson for me to learn. Also, a hard lesson is to rest along the way, because I think out of any Capricorn or any sign in the zodiac, or really any other person, I really love producing. I love creating things. I love manifesting, and I love doing it in a quick and easy, accessible way. I love things like this, but I have to remind myself too not to expect it from myself, and to allow myself to rest when my body says to rest. And this also for me is a very mental journey, right? Like, so what are the mental um what is the mental crap chatter that we're going to have to overcome this month about where we want to go in our wild dreams and what we want to achieve? Like, what are the sane, humane things that we need to say to ourselves and repeat to ourselves so that we don't get lost in the fervor of other people's voices, opinions, and things, and also like our own, right? Because we are our own worst saboteur and what I call our inner shitter. And I've had a really like difficult relationship with the swords, but only because I know that like the mental game is the one thing that's always held me back. And so inviting all of us to look at the ways in which the things we think, the things we say to ourselves when we're alone, like how is that affecting our art? How is that affecting our creativity? How is that affecting our heart? Like how is that making us feel? Like when I talk bad about myself, I don't feel good. Like when I'm being really shitty to myself, I don't feel good. And so that also has an effect on my art, right? If I am telling myself these really unhelpful things, that's going to feed into my art and I don't want that. And so how can we break that mental cycle? How can we with our sword, right? Our mind is our sword. And our pen is also our sword. Like how can we slice through that through journaling, through writing, through just taking a moment to really commune with ourselves and ourselves. So I hope that this is a helpful guide for March. I'll probably be peeping back into this throughout the rest of March in these 100-day projects. This is just a really interesting card. This is not what I was expecting, but often the message is not what we're expecting, it's what we need. It's definitely not one that I wanted. Like I wanted like a fiery card because I was like, yeah, spring, let's go. And here I'm getting the no Brandy, and all of y'all, let's stay in the fact that March predominantly is still winter. It's a tail end of winter until the 20th, at least in this hemisphere. So, like, we're still in that slow. So, it's okay to be slow. It's okay to wake up and stretch and meander around for as long as we need to until it feels good. So, that's the invitation. I'm excited to explore it as it as March progresses. I hope that that was helpful and that served y'all in some way. So good. I'm glad. I'm grateful for the reminders too. Thank you, Spirit. Thank you, ancestors. So that's it for today. I will see y'all tomorrow. Have a great Sunday. It's finally sunny here. I'm so excited. It's been a little dreary. And now I'm going to go be like mush brain and watch probably Game of Thrones. I don't know. We'll see. Have a great day. Bye, friends.